Sometimes I ask myself, am I intersex in some way? I think I want to know this, as I kind of want a reason as to why my gender identity is different from the one assigned at birth. Of course, if I did have some sort of intersex condition, it would most likely be biological, as if it is physical, it'd be really obvious for me unless my body was altered in some way without my knowledge when I was younger. I have been researching different types of intersex conditions, and if I did have one, the most likely one would be Klinefelter syndrome. But you may be wondering, what is Klinefelter syndrome? Well, it is to do with your chromosomes. As you can see, biological men have XY chromosomes, and biological women have XX, while people with Klinefelter syndrome have XXY chromosomes. People with Klinefelter syndrome usually grow up to have normal lives, so they may not even know they have a condition until later on in their life. So that got me thinking, am I likely to have it? There are many symptoms for Klinefelter syndrome, but you don't need to have all of them to have XXY chromosomes. In fact, you can have none of the symptoms but still be XXY, or you can have all the symptoms but have normal chromosomes, because everyone is different. I have looked into the different symptoms, and I'm going to start off with the physical ones. To be diagnosed with Klinefelter syndrome, you would have had to been thought to have been male when you was born. So I'm going to be talking about the male puberty and development. At 5 years old, when compared to typical boys' development, people with Klinefelter syndrome tend to slightly be taller, more fatter around the belly, clumsier, slower in developing motor skills, coordination, speed and muscle strength. I know for sure as a child I was definitely fatter around the belly than the other kids my age, but I'm not sure about the other symptoms as I just didn't really care about those things as a child. Puberty is when things start becoming more noticeable. People with Klinefelter syndrome usually start puberty normally, but as their body creates less testosterone, their development is usually disrupted or slows down. This is where it becomes more true for me, as when I was around 14 years old, I'm pretty sure my puberty stopped around then or slowed down quite a bit, as between 14 years old and 18 years old when I started HRT, in those 4 years gap, my body didn't really change at all. Other symptoms for teenagers are smaller testes and penis, breast growth happens in about 1/3, less facial and body hair, reduced muscle tone, narrower shoulders and wider hips, weaker bones with a greater risk of them fracturing, decreased sexual interest, lower energy and reduced sperm production. I know for sure in the later stages of puberty I had less facial and body hair than everyone else, well most people. I have never had any muscles. My shoulders are quite thin and my hips are quite wide, although this angle probably makes my shoulders look bigger than they actually are. I've never had any sexual interest, and I definitely had less energy than everyone else. The other things I couldn't compare myself with or didn't have any knowledge about at the time. The adult symptoms is where it becomes a bit harder for me, as HRT pretty much does the same effect. But the common symptoms are infertility, small testes with the possibility of the testes getting smaller after the teenage years. I know for sure that's happened to me, but as I started HRT at 18 years old, which is in my late teens, it's most likely been a HRT that's done that effect for me. But it always could be because of Klinefelter syndrome, I never know. Other symptoms are lower testosterone levels, which leads to less muscle, hair and sexual interest. I've always been like that. And finally, something that's definitely been caused by HRT for me, and that's breast growth. With Klinefelter syndrome, there's also language and learning symptoms. They often have a delay in learning to talk. Infants with Klinefelter syndrome tend to only make a few vocal sounds. As they grow older, they may have difficulty saying words clearly. I know for sure I definitely had trouble learning to talk. In fact, I still have some trouble with it, but it seems to have improved quite a bit since starting HRT, so maybe it's connected in some way. They also have trouble using language to express their thoughts and needs, and might have trouble putting their thoughts, ideas and emotions into words. Some may find it hard to learn and remember some words, such as names of common objects. This also sounds like me, as when I have ideas I can easily think them out even if they're complicated, but as soon as it comes to putting them in words I have trouble doing that. so I tend to just draw my ideas out instead, as it's easier for me. I also find it hard remembering names of things, and I never like remembering names of places that I've been to. Also, the fact that I keep failing English, that's probably another symptom of it. Well, I passed it once. Well, that's enough. Other language symptoms include trouble processing what they hear, as although they understand what's being said to them, it takes them longer to process multiple or complex sentences. I first noticed this at college, as when we was doing group work, we sat down in a circle and I couldn't understand what a person 1 meter away from me was saying. Of course I could understand the words, but as when they're putting it into the sentence, I couldn't understand it, because the time I thought about what it said, and they moved on to something else and I ended up missing that, and so on and so on. So I missed out quite a bit of a sentence and just didn't really understand it in the end because of that. Also, another trouble I have is reading difficulties, as it could take me longer to read things than most people, and often I can't read what a certain thing says. I know what the letters are, but I just can't put them into sounds. So I just don't know how to read them. I need to get someone else to read the word out for me if I don't know what it says. And people with Klinefelter syndrome also tend to be quieter, less confident, more anxious, less physically active, more helpful and eager to please, and more obedient or ready to follow directions. And that does pretty much sound like me, or at least how I used to be, because I've changed a bit in the last 2 years or so, but most of them still describe me. And it's pretty much like someone just wrote a list out about me, but it won't, because it's not about me. Although I have many of the symptoms for it, I won't know for sure until I'm tested for it. So, do I have Klinefelter syndrome? Only time will tell. Hi everyone, hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, and while you're at it, check out the playlist of previous videos, and like and comment as well to let me know what you think of it. See you next time, bye! Because of that, bang. Just as soon as I finished recording, it just started to rain. Another cat's crying.